Welcome to Navigating Texas Workforce Commission for Musicians, an interactive panel discussion. Fridays at 1 p.m. Brought to you by the Austin Federation of Musicians and with the Unemployment Compensation Advisory Committee. The Unemployment Compensation Advisory Committee are members of the Austin Federation of Musicians, Local 433 of the American Federation of Musicians, aka the Musicians Union. Some of us work as contractor 1099 workers, and others work as employee W-2 workers in various aspects of the music industry.
The goal of this session is to share our experiences, including trials and tribulations related to the Texas Workforce Commission, or TWC, with other musicians in the state of Texas to aid in navigating the TWC application process. We are not experts in unemployment assistance. We are musicians.
The information contained herein does not constitute either legal advice or an official pronouncement or a position of the Austin Federation of Musicians, but rather is only the personal opinions of the panelists. The panelists do not give legal advice or make official rulings on agency matters, should not be cited as authorities in any matter before the agency or when dealing with agency staff about a case, and must minimize their involvement with administrative processes. They also do not give legal advice on any other matter, and any information they should give should not be used as a basis for taking any employment-related action. Before taking any employment action that could adversely affect an employee, or before using any sample form or policy you may obtain from this group, you should consult a licensed private sector employment law attorney of your choice. All right, welcome back. This is Navigating Texas Workforce Commission for Musicians for April 16th, 2021. Looks like it's just going to be me today, which is fine. That means the rest of the committee is working. It's doing some gainful employment activities, which we love to hear. So yeah, things are coming back slowly but surely. Of course, we've all heard over and over again that our industry was the first to shut down and will be the last to start back up, and that is generally true. But there are some things happening. Of course, the business of music continues, as Russell always likes to say. We always like to start with the websites, of course, our main websites. If you're just getting into this type of thing, make sure you start with the best place, which is the TWC website, twc.texas.gov. Their Facebook page is where they post updates and news. They have a press conference about it every other day there, where they answer questions from the press. So that's kind of the best, most up-to-date information. We also have the Local 433 Musicians Unemployment Information Sharing page and our COVID-19 resources page on afm433.com. That can be very useful. And of course, who represents me is super important these days, especially because the Texas legislature is in session right now, and there are things going through that affect us as musicians, as employees, as workers in Texas. So it's important to know who represents you. So those links are always down in the comments, or rather the description of the video. So we always go on to beverages after that, drinking coffee as usual. If you have a question for the Unemployment Compensation Advisory Committee, you can email questions to ucac@afm433.com, or just information or your experience with unemployment. All of that helps. Just sharing information amongst musicians. It doesn't always come second nature to us, but that's really helpful, especially now. And that's a way that we can help each other dig out of this COVID year that we've been experiencing, and we continue to experience. So, not a lot of news directly on unemployment. The committee has heard from a couple of musicians this week that lost benefits for some reason, and we haven't gotten enough information yet to understand why. So the way that our committee works, usually we gather a little bit of information and figure out which of our contacts with the with the Texas Workforce Commission or with the Texas State Senate or other places can best help that musician. So, but we're hoping to hear from those musicians soon, and maybe we can offer some assistance or put them in touch with someone who can. Is really the thing. So, let's see. We've got a couple of things. There are an article in the American Statesman, the Austin American Statesman about outdoor music venues, which is nice to see, and that is a place where people are finding work in the outdoor places. So, both are in the freelance community, but also in the orchestra community. A lot of outdoor things are happening as well. So. Not so much recording community, of course. That's still really kind of an indoor thing, but a lot of us are doing that type of work at home. So, and then we have kind of an interesting thing. We have there's an article in the Austin American Statesman about Austin's jobless rate drops as economy shows signs of recovery. So, very positive sort of article from today, and then. We have an article also from today on the Texas Workforce Commission site saying the unemployment rate for Texas, the state, is unchanged at 6.9%. So a little bit of good news, a little bit of bad news, but jobs are still being added, but of course that means jobs are also still being lost. So but we'll have links to both of those articles in the description. Also, an article in the Austin American Statesman about the Austin's home prices continue to soar, continue to increase, but some housing experts don't fear bubble is the headline, of course. So that's kind of an interesting story as well. I don't think there's not a lot of real certain news there. It's just really sort of I guess speculative, but it's interesting. And of course, the cost of shelter and housing is a big issue for us here in Central Texas. So we're going to keep on that. There is a little bit of news from TWC about responding to unemployment letters, which is that's the name of the article. TWC issues guidance on responding to unemployment letters, which is sort of vague. What it's really about is responding to letters about benefits that you did not apply for. Like if you haven't applied for unemployment assistance and you receive a letter about unemployment assistance as if you had, what that means is there is some sort of identity theft going on. Someone has applied in your name, potentially, and so you shouldn't throw that letter away. You should get in contact with the TWC, and I'll post that article as well down there in the description, because apparently that is happening quite a bit. So there is quite a bit of fraud happening, and of course the system that we have in Texas is very antiquated, and it has sort of allowed that to happen. So anyway, there's that. There also has been some concerns about the new ID confirmation system that the TWC is using, ID.me, and so we'd love to hear anybody's experience with that system. We haven't directly heard from anybody, but we've seen some people posting on Facebook about that, and other social media. So that's interesting. Let's see. Also, kind of in the news this week, there is an article that's sort of relevant to us, just because it involves our union brothers and sisters in Fort Wayne. The Fort Wayne Philharmonic has been locked out, furloughed from their jobs, and in a very unfair fashion, which is probably illegal, although that has yet to be totally decided. But anyway, they were protesting in front of Sweetwater Sound, which is a mail order music instrument technology company that a lot of us use, and it turns out that the owner of Sweetwater Sound is on the board, is actually the chair of the board of the Fort Wayne Philharmonic. So hopefully that person can be an ally to those musicians, because that's a company that relies on the business of musicians, of course. So yeah, so there's an article about that, and then there's also a Facebook post from the Fort Wayne Philharmonic musicians themselves, that we've reposted on our local union website as well. And of course, that's we're in the same international union, the American Federation of Musicians of the United States and Canada. So our hearts go out to those musicians and their families as they navigate this difficult time, in addition to the other difficult times that we're all navigating as well. So yeah, that's a rough one, but yeah. Okay, well that's all we've got in the news this week, as far as unemployment and union news and music recovery news and everything else. We're still working on maybe a potential title change, maybe a theme song for this broadcast, and hopefully, we won't need as much news about unemployment specifically as we recover from this past year. So watch out for that, and we'll keep talking about it. And if you are in the music business, still in the music business at this point, don't give up. We can get through this together with solidarity and sharing information among musicians. The Unemployment Compensation Advisory Committee is helping all musicians during this time with unemployment issues, and we're trying to keep everybody informed about all the other issues related to music industry recovery. So we'll see you next week, and take care.